ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another monthly edition of Simple Saltwater. I appreciate you all being here. Of course, I've got my buddy Powell and co-host Chattanooga Ed joining me. He is our beginner to saltwater for this series. I myself being the intermediate in saltwater, and our good friend Mike Fish Tank Barn being our panel expert, if you will, being the guy that even has bred saltwater fish. I'm going to fix something real quick while we wait on a couple of people to roll in, because I turned off the display names. There we go, for our other layout. And now people can see who we are. There we go.
Awesome. I was wondering who that guy was.
Yeah, that guy. I don't know. So what we've decided to do this week, we typically do pretty well at avoiding rabbit holes and staying on topic. You good, Mike?
Yep.
I'm sorry. I thought you were saying, hold on a second. I was like,
no.
He was pointing.
Gotcha. This week, we're going to open it up. We're going to take more questions than we typically have time to do. And we're going to just do some general discussion. Mike's had some awesome things going on in the saltwater side of the hobby for him. Ed has had some opportunities to check out some things saltwater that maybe he would have not normally looked at before he got into the saltwater side of things. We're just going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the hobby and take questions from you all. I know that YouTube did not send out a notification before this, so it'll probably take a couple of minutes for folks to roll in. But I do want to thank all of you all for being here and checking this out. One thing I will say is that Aquashella has happened since the last saltwater episode that we did. That was Orlando. And that was really, really nice overall, but especially the saltwater side of things, the amount of corals that were there. And I'm kind of curious. I know that you did some looking around while we were there. Was it different for you this time around going to an event like that, whereas before you hadn't really had an interest in saltwater? Now having that curiosity in saltwater and starting up a tank now, was it any different than before? Maybe were you like, what is it? Oh, I'm not going to go check out the saltwater side of things.
Well, honestly, that was the most saltwater I've ever been to. I have purposely avoided saltwater conventions. So I've honestly never been to one. The aquatic experience, I'm trying to think, did they have salt anywhere?
There was a little, I think. Not much, though.
Yeah, it was mostly all fresh. It's because of Reefapalooza really does a lot of the big salt stuff.
And Magnus, too.
Yeah, and I just haven't been to any of those. So honestly, it was a new experience for me to see that many coral dealers. It's amazing. Mike, there was like 50 of them.
Yeah, it sounded like was like a Magna then. Like a Magna, you'd find a lot of the vendors, like you'd find like a Deltec or a company like that, or CJ was probably there, those kind of companies were there. And then you'd have all the coral vendors.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. And I was wondering how many were just guys that work out of their house and how many of them are like suppliers to pet stores.
A lot of them are it depends. There's some that are like business. It's sort of like an aquarium co-op, like business. Like there's a Cherry Corals is not too far from me. That's a pretty big name in the saltwater world. They're about 25 minutes from me or so. And they have like a small warehouse space where they've got vats of corals that they bring in.
That's awesome. Now, coral, though, is something that, there's guppy guys that can breed a lot of guppies and sell guppies. Is corals kind of the same way? You can, if you're good at corals, can you make a lot of coral and break them off and frag them out?
You can. It's, I think a lot of people import too. But yes, it does. It takes a little longer than guppies, but you can, do your own frags and stuff. I mean, some people make some kind of like, the guy who sells at the auction, right? In freshwater, he'll frag some coral, sell them to some buddies, et cetera, et cetera.
So I feel like the one thing that was really missing from the show, and this kind of plays into that in terms of fragging and selling things, where somebody could kind of get an upper hand, would be variety. It seemed like you saw the exact same thing And there were a lot of awesome variations and some different things, but specifically in like zoanthus and pallies, it was almost like you had 60 people with the exact same item. So
they were all named different, right? They all looked the same, and it was like kind of like Guppy's names, right?
Yep, that's exactly it. It's like, oh, this is a red starburst, and then it's the same thing, and it's like, this is an orange blaze or a red fire blast or
an all red.
Yeah.
True reds.
This is the supernova,
Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference. I don't know if I was looking at the same ones over and over, or if I saw 5 million different ones.
Right.
They all look different.
It's kind of overwhelming when you have that many too.
Yeah, well, I saw a couple that I absolutely loved. Because I loved the color on them. Was just really neat.
One thing, if you really want to have fun with the coral vendors, is actually ask them to turn it on in white light instead of the blue light that they put it on. They'll sell them under the blue light so they fluoresce, right?
Right.
But if you ask them to put on the white light, it'll show you the coral in a little bit of a different light.
Oh.
Yeah, it definitely looks a lot different. Liquid Zoo says, I look so serious tonight. No, my eyes like freaked out, started watering right before the stream, so I'm trying to keep from playing with my eye too much. But yeah, all is well. I appreciate
congested
that.
Too.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not feeling the best today, but hey, it is what it is. I always feel better hanging out with you guys and talking to the fish fam. So, but thank you. We did have a question from Biscotti Nanya. Said, hello, I hope you're doing well. How could someone who doesn't keep saltwater fish or corals make money selling saltwater related things like macroalgae or live rock, etc.?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to think about that one. I mean, you could, set up like a 40-gallon breeder and, keep macroalgae and things like that. Or you could do something like rotifers, honestly. It's like you get a bucket, and there's a video on my channel about rotifers, but you can get a bucket. Rotifers go to reed mariculture, and you get the paste and everything, and you can do rotifers too. But live rock, I mean, you could do it. It seems like you're kind of like doing all of the stuff that's the hard stuff without having any fun.
Right, right, absolutely. Yeah, I think particularly the live rock, you're going to get very involved, especially to have any type of quantity. You're going to need big tubs of live rock.
Right.
So I think that at that point, you're almost, it's hard to not be in the saltwater side of things and like do live rock. If you're going to have that much live rock, then realistically, it's like, okay, well, I need to be able to seed that stuff. I need a lot of, bacteria and whatnot going into it. I need to do the lighting to get everything going. So that's really not, I think, like you said, rotifers is a good one to go. Live rock would be not a cheap and easy thing to do, in my opinion.
Right.
I talked to a professional breeder once that was debating about getting into saltwater shrimp because he felt like he could breed saltwater shrimp and make a profit off of it. Have you ever heard of breeding saltwater shrimp in tanks?
You can. I've never done it. I'd have to go back and look up what they eat. It depends on the shrimp too. There's some that eat, and the name's escaping me which one, but there's one that eats crayfish, or not crayfish, but starfish. So you have to
harlequin.
Yeah, harlequin shrimp. Yeah, you have to feed it little starfish. So you got to find.
I know some shrimp stuff.
Right, and then you've got I'd have to go back and research it. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't remember it being terribly difficult.
No, it's just
with anything with saltwater and breeding, you have to figure out what it eats, what the larva will eat, or what the baby shrimps will eat.
This was one of the corals that I absolutely loved for sale. It was like Pepto-Bismol pink with orange insides, like orange. It was really neat.
I'm trying to figure out what that is. It looks like a zoanthid that's not extended.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's what it looks like.
There's
But it
another.
could be like a hard coral, but it could be like a little trumpet coral or something too.
Is that a hard thing to do?
I'd have to figure out what it is first.
And then look at this. This was super pretty. It was like a little teal on a white stick. Like
Yep.
white.
Those
White
aren't
tree.
too bad. Yeah, those aren't too bad.
So, Biscotti Nanya with the $2 super chat says, "Thank you for answering my question." You are welcome. Thank you for the super chat. Never required or expected, but always very much appreciated. So, thank you for that. But yeah, I think rotifers is a good answer. And again, like you mentioned, setting up a 40 breeder or something like that, do macroalgae, I think that could do really well. It's not too difficult. And you can honestly make it look pretty while you're doing it. I've seen some nice tanks that they don't even have your typical saltwater setup in terms of filtration and things like that because they just are relying on the macroalgae, similarly to a freshwater planted tank.
Absolutely, it's the same thing.
Yep, same premise, just some different parameters. But I think that could be a fun and enjoyable thing to do. That's a lot easier than fish as well, in terms of like bagging things up to take to like a fish club or an auction or things like that. It's super simple to bag up plants.
Absolutely.
So there you go. All right. Now, Mike, I know you've had, I think, several things go on the saltwater side for you, new fish and stuff like that. You want to tell us a little bit about what you've been into salt-wise?
Yeah. So basically, the tank, I need to do a video. So in the next week or two, you'll see a video on the 180. It did have a little bit of an algae outbreak. There's a couple of factors. One of those I've addressed over the weekend here. Wasn't getting enough flow through the sump, and so I had to change the flow into the sump some. I had to like replumb basically from the back of the tank all the way out to the all the way back to the sump and replumb all of that. But did get some corals and fish in the tank. So I did get 4 zoanthids, and you're going to kind of laugh because I did trade a group of purple ACI cichlids for them. So
that's awesome, though. I mean,
so I have a buddy who is he runs a small maintenance business, and he had a client that was looking for cichlids. I was like, so we did a trade. So I gave him about 12 ACI, which I've got millions of them now.
Right.
Awesome.
And he gave me some chaetomorpha, another kind of macroalgae too. I got to look at what it's called again. I forgot what it's called. It's like the red one. I think it's like Dragon's Breath or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one is the. And then he gave me 4 zoanthid colonies.
That's awesome. And that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, and the coolest part is he actually had his par meter with him, and he went and did the par meter on my tank.
Oh wow!
So that was really interesting. So it was good to get some numbers and some data points on it. So
now, were you surprised at any of the numbers that you saw off that par meter on your tanks?
Not really. It was basically in the neighborhood of like a softy coral. So it was kind of in the 150s in the middle. Like, so, the bottom was towards 100. It was like 150, kind of in the mid-level. Because what he would do is he would take it to different parts of the tank. So he gets, different readings.
Right.
And it was about 150. So good for softies. So I would have to add some light for the, if I want to do SPS at some point.
Absolutely. Somebody was asking, sorry, I missed where it was. It was Terry's Tropical Tank says, what did Mike get at Greenwater?
Cool. Yep. So I had to meet Terry, Greenwater last Sunday.
Awesome.
And so I ended up with some Cyprochromis. So Cyprochromis leptosoma from Primetime.
Nice.
Ended up with Neolamprologus cotopunctatus. So another, I think they're more of like not really a shell dweller, but kind of like a rock dwelling Neolamprologus.
Gotcha.
A pair of sailfin mollies, and that's something else. I'm drawing a blank on it. What else did I get? I think that was it, actually. I got a bunch of plants, too. I think that was it. I swear that was going to bother me all night. It's one of those things like, crap, what am I going to get now? What did I get?
Yeah, well, I mean that's a blessing though. When you've got the tank set up and you're able to do it, and you can get enough fish that you're like, I forgot what I got. That's a decent
I remember what it
list.
was. It was the Dickfeldy. It was the rock dwelling Tanganyikans.
Oh, nice, very very nice.
Ludicromus Dickfeldy.
That's an awesome list of fish that you picked up there. So multiple aquariums. How are you, Diego? Appreciate you being here. It says, are all saltwater salts created equal? What's your knowledge on that or opinion?
No, but at the same time, they're all not. None of them are really bad. There's not like the Wardleys of salt, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I've used Instant Ocean and I've had great luck with it, and that's been around for generations, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's stuff too you can get. It's called it's ESV. But it's basically you have to mix it yourself. Like there's a part of calcium, there's a part of magnesium, and you literally have to mix all the salts yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think that's a good answer. There are some that are better or different than others, but there's not really a bad one out there. I like the way there's no Wardleys of salt. There's really not.
Do some work though better in different waters? Like let's say James has really soft water and I have hard water, but I guess we're ROing it all, right?
You're starting out the same with RO, so you should.
So
you start at the same base.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
you get
the RO.
That wonderful equalizer with the RO.
Yep.
But no, Instant Ocean's a great one. I've used them a lot. I've not used the Fritz just because I've not needed to get any salt. And Instant Ocean was kind of the thing, if you will, back when I first got into salt years and years ago. And now I buy a lot of pre-mixed already. So, but I know Instant Ocean, there are several public aquariums that use it. There are a lot of people use Instant Ocean. And it's a good standard. Fritz is an awesome company, and I've heard a lot of great things about their salts. I just personally haven't used it, so I can't personally, give testimony to it. Yeah, we've sat on it. We sat on their boxes.
I've sat on it too at some point somewhere in time.
No, I certainly would be open to use Fritz. There are some special things, and you'll see some premium salts, if you will, that have like the additives and things and are a lot more coral related, I guess. But I don't honestly know that I personally will pay the difference to go into getting the additives in my salt. I feel like that kind of runs in parallel to freshwater planted tanks in terms of fertilizers. Just kind of having the basic versus, well, I want this thing to have all the things in it. And I'm not worried about it having all the things in it. I'd rather, look at my values independently and go, okay, maybe I need more of this or more of that.
And plus you can get a calcium reactor and do all of that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a question from Mike to Mike.
All right.
From one Mike to another. Is there one salt brand better for faller tanks versus reef tanks?
I would say at that point you would go with the cheapest one, which is generally Instant Ocean.
For the fish only.
Powell, yeah. But that being said, Instant Ocean is fine with a reef tank too. And it all depends, like anything, what do you want to do?
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Terry's absolutely right. He's like, if you have a ton of money in sticks, you'll pay for better salt. Yep, and sticks, what Terry's referring to when he's talking about sticks are SPS corals.
Yes, yeah.
And I've always countered that with getting a calcium reactor. They'll put the calcium and magnesium into your water.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think while there is validity to that, definitely, I think it also becomes a point of pride for a lot of people because there's a lot of that, the saltwater side, especially when you get into the thousands of dollars setups with people with the sticks, the the SPS, LPS, the SPS, acros and all that stuff. There comes a point of pride of like, I only use this premium stuff in my tank.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it becomes equipment oriented too. Like I have the latest gizmos and gadgets, and you can use them. It depends on, it's a mindset thing, right?
Yeah,
you can automate everything. I mean, you can even test your water now automated with
right.
net packs.
Yeah, there are definitely some awesome things out there in terms of automation and all the wonderful gadgets and gizmos that you can get added in. Just that in and of itself, some of the systems, it's just really cool to look at all the mechanics of it. People pop open their cabinets and you see all this cool stuff going on with pumps and dosers and reactors. And it's like, wow, this is a whole thing in and of itself.
It's a cool, yeah. And like Chris said, there's a lot of saltwater purists.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I sort of go towards there, but I don't cross over the gray line.
Right.
Now, Steven says, I have no plans for a saltwater tank until I can afford to deck it out with a whole bunch of corals like I do my planted tanks. I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to deck it out with a bajillion corals. I'm just going to put a coral in here and there and just until it's filled.
Right, and let it grow in, too. I think that's one of the things where a lot of people don't do this. You'll see a tank full of little frags everywhere, and they just keep buying and fragging, and like let it, if you want to go look at something, go to like Reef Central and look at all the tanks of the month. I don't know if they still do it or not, but go look at all those tanks of the month, and you'll see all these, fully grown out colonies, which I think is really the best way to do it.
No, I'm 100% with you. I really feel like, and this is speaking to zoanthus in particular, but all things that would kind of, spread out and encrust or cover. I really feel like taking one piece of live rock and putting one plug in it and just letting it grow, like you said, and letting it do its thing really gives you a much better appearance in the long run. It's going to be a little bit annoying at first when you've just got a little thing here and a little thing there and a little thing here. But as it grows in and as you give it time and you let that patience factor in, you get a really, really nice looking tank, as you mentioned.
And I do want to address one other thing too, is like, I think it's actually easier instead of like saving up a bunch of money and then starting, like take your time and like build it, right? Maybe 1 month buy the tank, buy the stand, buy the salt, and then, just kind of build it up slowly. Like the way I've set up the 180, like I know I'll need to get another light at some point. I know I'll want to do SPS at some point.
Right.
But I made it modular so that I can just add another light strip instead of going out and spending like $4,000 for all new lights.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I did the reef brights, and I can add another reef bright, or I can add something like an Orfec strip light, and be good to go.
Yeah, that's what I've done. Pretty much all I need now is the live sand and the RO system. And I keep forgetting because Sean has an RO system he's going to give me. And every time I go hang out with Sean or, we go do something, we forget. So we have too much fun.
We really do.
You need to move here, Mike, and you can be our fourth man. You would love it.
Well, if you can move the company I work for there and my wife's job, we can maybe work that out.
There you go. So we had one that I think got skipped. It's from JC. Says, hello from Knoxville, fellow Knoxville person. Great to have you in here. Says, in the process of setting up my first reef tank, 75 gallon, any aquascaping advice? For me, I would say the biggest piece of advice is going to be getting your rockwork solidified together and get it solid and stable. That's one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in salt, and that I see a lot of people do, is they make it look pretty, but they don't get it all either attached or in there sitting on top of each other where it's solid and stable and it's not going to get knocked off or settled in. Livestock factors into that as well. If you're going to have anything that's really going through the sand, even if it's not something big, even if it's just a small fish that's going to be burrowing under rock, that can cause a cave in, not only on that fish but the rocks on top moving. or you get big eels. They love to get in that sand and kick it up, and then rock starts moving. So for me, I would say I like to get my live rock settled onto the glass before I get sand. I don't like my live rock really sitting on top of sand, just because you can get rock work collapsing on livestock if they mess with the sand. But
and it could collapse onto the glass of your tank.
Yeah,
and you could have more problems than you would care to admit.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've made one solid piece, and I've bought more tubes than probably a normal person should of that putty, because I have doubled and tripled the putty, just because I just kept knocking it apart.
Yeah, I've always done it the natural way, and it just kind of had them hooked together.
Yeah,
but I really do need to. I'm kind of going to re-aquascape my tank too, because I'm not happy with it. At first I was, and then I'm like, I've kind of grown sick of it already, and so I've been kind of moving rocks around and stuff too. So
absolutely. No, so that's one of the things I like to do, and this is just me because I like visual mental puzzles. And I think that plays into some of the work I used to have to do with organizing and things. But I like to take all my rock I have available and just kind of lay it out, and then kind of piece it together in my mind. And like you mentioned, hooking things together is really where this comes into play. Get that base piece in there, and then kind of look at what I've got and go, okay, this piece can probably attach in here. And then you get the next piece, and sometimes you pull it out and you go, oh, this piece will work better for this. So you don't have to use the putty, but definitely getting things solid, whether it's the natural way or with the putty, would be my biggest piece of advice. The other thing, and this is what I mentioned, my number one rule for aquascaping and planted freshwater tanks is create something that you enjoy looking at. If you're not going to like looking at it, it doesn't matter if it's
award-winning, right?
Yeah, award-winning. If it's the standard, if it's something that's going to, this is a great scape. If you don't enjoy it, it doesn't make a difference, in my opinion. So, Susie Q, good to see you. Q Aquatic says, I use tap water in my saltwater fish tank and RODI or RODI in my nano reef tank. Absolutely. I'm one of those people that uses tap water as well, particularly if it's just a Fowler tank. I know some people cringe at that, but we all have our different parts of the hobby that we enjoy, and I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for fish, tap water is fine. You may have some algae, but it depends on your filtration and everything else.
Absolutely. Make sure I get caught up here. I think that you all grab those other questions.
I was on top chat, so that's how I missed a couple.
Gotcha. Steve at P2003 says, now how long does it take for coral to grow? I'm 36 years old. Clock is ticking.
That's funny.
That is funny.
It depends on the coral, and it depends on your water parameters.
Absolutely.
But it does grow a lot quicker than what the average guy would assume. I thought it would take years, because they say, for a coral reef in the ocean to grow an inch, it's going to take 100 years or something. That's what we hear.
Right.
But, you go to the pet store, and you see those things completely encrusting all over the frag and going over. So some of them are pretty fast.
It depends on the it depends on the coral. Like if you're talking, we'll go to sticks for a minute, like a Monty cap, right? It really depends on the amount of calcium you have in your system. Calcium alkalinity. It's I don't have my stuff together to pull a picture of, but it's basically the plate one, the big the
okay.
The plate basically. But yeah, those or like any of the sticks like Terry was talking about. Those need the calcium to grow. But something like a zoanthid is just those generally grow fairly quickly. It just, as long as it has food, right?
Gotcha.
The coral is an animal, not a plant, right? Even though we talk a lot about light with corals,
right.
A coral is an animal. It does eat out of the water column. So much like a plant would eat, but there you go.
Yeah, and you can see on here, I'm having a fun time doing this with a single display versus the two. But, you've got your little frags up here of how they start out, and then they grow into these awesome structures as they get larger.
one thing I saw at what was it, at Aquashella, a lot of people were into skulls in the coral departments.
Yeah, that's kind of become a thing I've noticed where people are using skulls or alien heads to grow lots of different frags on top of them. Thought that was kind of interesting, especially given that I guess the purist aspect of it, if you will, trying to keep things more natural looking in the saltwater.
SpongeBob coral.
Yeah. But no, I know one that I recommend a lot just because you can have great success with it, and Mike always cringes, is the green star polyps, because those do spread extremely quickly. And you can do some really fun things with them, and you can get some success under your belt relatively easily. That's a fun one to deck out the whole back of a tank with it. Have it growing around your overflow, because it will attach to the walls really, really easily. So I've seen some really nice setups where they've just gotten it attached in multiple places and let it all grow together. And then your back wall or your side wall or your overflow area is just this huge mat of green star polyps that are kind of, flowing in the current.
Yeah, they're not bad. It's just you have to keep them in the right spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of it with a coral or even a fish is your experience with it. And I made a mistake at like a club meeting one time, thinking it was a cap, but just the way it was sitting in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled it out. I'm like, oh no! Like I felt, because it's kind of like the convict cichlid, right? That no one wants.
Yeah.
Right. So I pulled it out, and I'm like, I got start. Oh no! Like really?
Oh man, it happens. Sean Chadwick, thank you for the $3 super sticker with the thumbs up fist bump pair. I appreciate that, my friend.
I've got a question with the corals.
Okay.
Oh, do all your super chats. I'm so sorry.
Well, I didn't want to miss Sean's there. I appreciate him. I wanted to get that and say a huge thank you to him. Sean's always hitting us up with that $3 fist bump pair, and I appreciate it, buddy. So thank you for that, Sean. Go ahead, Ed. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you, my friend.
No, actually, I interrupted you, which was totally not cool. But I was thinking, do you quarantine your corals, or can you just stick them in?
What you should do, and I didn't do it with the zoanthids I got them from a pretty trusted source, but you can buy a coral dip. There's commercially available coral dips that you can buy. And
this is like a liquid?
It's like a liquid. You mix it. I think you mix it with salt water, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. But you mix it. You'll follow the instructions on the package. You mix it, and then it'll get rid of a lot of the little pests and things that could come on it. And also look at the coral, too. Like, kind of inspect it if you can. I know some of them have, like, the floating magnifying glass thing that floats on the top.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking at the coral, make sure there's nothing, little red bugs or anything like that on it.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't want chiggers.
Yeah, there's like all kinds of little pests and stuff, like coral eating pests and stuff, like little flatworms and
gross.
Like that.
Yeah, that would not be cool. Now, let's say I screw up and I get a bunch of worms that eat corals in my fish tank. What do I do then? Is there medications or a fish?
Yeah. Like algae and freshwater, you don't want to do the fish, but there are some. Say you get flatworms. Let me use flatworms for example, not the acro-eating ones, but just the normal little, tiny little flatworms. There is a fish called a 6-line wrasse that will eat it, but that fish can get a little aggressive, and getting it out will make you tear your hair out. But there's a product called Flatworm Exit that you can treat the tank with. It'll get rid of them.
What about, is there any type of a crustacean that'll eat that stuff? Like them little shrimps are always working. They could do some extra work and get rid of the parasites.
I think it depends. You'd have to research it. I don't remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, there's some things that eat it, but a lot of the things that will eat it come with a price as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
You get some things that, they'll take care of that problem, but then they'll cause a problem for you, too.
Right.
I just want shrimp.
Right. Aptasia is another very common thing in the hobby. That stuff, it's one of those that if you're new and you're not familiar with it, you get it and you go, hey, I got this awesome little tentacle-y thing growing here that I didn't buy. This is super cool. And then there's one, and then there's 12, and then there's 40.
Right.
And that's another one. There are a lot of different ways to address that. I know there's, of course, the aptasia-eating filefish. If you're looking at a fish option, we have people have done the laser beam option, which I'm not necessarily going to recommend. That can be dangerous.
I mean, there's guys with glasses and like closing the room off, and yeah,
mad scientists. Also, I will just give that disclaimer: if you don't think about it ahead of time, if you are going to play with lasers in glass, remember how refraction works. So just be very, very careful.
Yes.
But they're
I'm waiting for someone to laser duckweed. I'm waiting for the day when someone will take a laser to duckweed.
I think you should do it, Mike. I think that might be the 1 million view video.
No, I my luck, I would probably like blind myself or something. That's like I'd slip or something and like refract it and like burn the fish barn down or something goofy like that.
Oh. Absolutely, yeah. And see, I don't have one of those high-powered lasers like we're talking about for the burning aptasia stuff, but I do have one of the fairly strong green lasers, and I have pulled it out a couple times. And I will say, in a room where you're surrounded by fish tanks, it's really hard to predict how many places that thing is going to hit. You might shine it in one tank and end up with 7 beams across the room, depending upon what panel you hit. So just be aware of that.
Daniel has a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
You do need to kind of watch placement a little bit because they will attack each other. Basically, in the night, you can find videos of it on YouTube, but they'll put little stingers out and they'll just attack each other, and they'll have basically go to war with each other. So you do need to keep some space between them. And I think there are some that have. There's some sources out there that say which ones fight with which other ones. So I don't remember. I don't remember which ones fight with which one anymore, but They will fight for sure.
Absolutely. That was Daniel Velez. The comment was corals grow large. That has to be part of your planning and placement. They will also attack each other with stingers. Give the room. And thank you for that, Daniel. That's, like you said, a very, very valid point. And that also plays in, like we mentioned, with letting things grow out versus little tiny frags everywhere, which I am guilty of right now. There were some awesome deals at the wrap up on Aquashella. So I ended up with about 24 frags of zoanthids I didn't really plan on getting, but when they're $2.50 for a frag, anywhere from 10 to 20 little polyps on it, I couldn't pass on some of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
what's a flat a soft coral?
So a soft coral is something like a leather coral, for example, where it doesn't have like a hard skeleton. That's made out of calcium.
Do they look cool?
So something like a leather coral, for example, is a soft coral.
Okay.
Zoanthid is sort of, zoanthid is zoanthid, but it's kind of a soft coral too.
Yeah. I would put it in that grouping. I think he's referring to Lunatic Fringe, who mentioned simple soft corals are the way to go for simple saltwater reef tanks. Have to watch the fish you put in with them, though. Excuse me. I would say anything that's not a LPS large polyp stony or an SPS small polyp stony. The zoanthids, pallies, leathers, GSPs, the green star polyps, Xenia, as much as that's kind of the duckweed of saltwater. Those things are all definitely a lot easier to maintain. You typically get quicker growth with them. I won't say better growth, but you typically get quicker growth with them. And it's definitely a little bit easier. I've also noticed that they tend to be not quite as picky with lighting as your sticks, your SPS. Yep. Whereas I have killed, unfortunately, my fair share of SPS just because I couldn't get the lighting level right. especially like when I had my 220 set up as a reef tank, trying to get the proper lighting and that much depth of water. I'm like, oh, I placed that in the wrong place. I need to move it, up here, down here, and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, it takes a lot of light to punch through all that water.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, look at here.
Well, let's see, and that was back in the days where that tank had the 72-inch outer orbits with 3 metal halides and I think 16 T5s on it. And it was like a $1,500 light at the time.
And your electric
like,
bill was
the electric bill was ridiculous. I don't even have anything big enough nearby to show, but the power boxes were about that big by that big, but they're just massive bricks, and the thing would turn on, and you'd hear it ramping up, and you're like, oh god, here we go. So that was really fun trying to get lighting, correct with that, because you get it too close to those metal halides and it would just melt things.
Oh yeah, those things would melt you almost.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you definitely
get put off a ton of heat too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things that we've talked a little bit about it with lighting. LEDs have been an amazing upgrade to the hobby, because when Ed was talking about setting up a saltwater tank, somebody had told him, well, you'll need to get a heater. And back before I'd gotten out of saltwater the last time, nobody used heaters in saltwater. Everybody used chillers because all the lights were putting out so much heat, you couldn't keep your tank cool enough. And he said, well, no, I need a heater. And I sat there and I had to think about it to myself. And I said, well, what has changed in 10 years in the hobby? And it was the lights.
Right.
And then I was like, that makes perfect sense. I'm like, no, you would need a heater. Yeah, it was a whole different ball game back then. So I'm really, really grateful to have the LEDs this time around going.
Yeah, and I didn't use that was one of the things to this day. Like I refuse to use a chiller. They're so expensive, and it's like buying an air conditioner for your fish tank.
It is. It is.
It'd be fun to get one free,
right? I used
to pay the electric bill for it.
Right. I used to do DIY variants of heaters, or not heaters, chillers, whether it was placement around air vents in the floor, so that I could get direct AC flow up under the tank, or things of that nature. You can even do the little mini fridge with the water hose set up that you're pushing your water through to cool it. But I'm really glad that we don't really have to play with it that much now that we have LEDs. Matt F., thank you so much. Was already a member, but upgraded to Team Snowball. I appreciate that. I really, really do, Matt. I appreciate everything you do for the channel and the support. Thank you so much, my friend.
Hey,
there we go. Oh, that one was really loud. Sorry about that.
It made a noise, but it didn't come out.
It didn't come out.
What the heck?
Funny. That's probably why it singed the back of my hand and removed some hair. It blew all the powder out the backside.
Man, I don't like these cheapy poppers you just got.
Yeah, this new brand is not working.
I know it's not cheapy. It's just the alternate brand.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just I always kept my tanks in the basement, so it was like I would refuse to buy a chiller.
Yeah, it's just a piece of equipment I couldn't bring myself to do. They're not cheap. Like you said, it's an AC just for your tank, and then you get into multiple large tanks, and you need multiple chillers, and just could not do it.
I've ended up doing actually a DIY heater out of using your hot water heater and an instant hot water pump, and then some PEX pipe. I put a coil in the sump, and then you put a controller on it, and it runs the hot water through the coils and then you have a closed loop with your hot water heater.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's there. You could get into some fun builds, but I don't know.
I did that for a long time. It heated the house, actually.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
What does Team Zebra mean? Is that a type of saltwater stuff?
No, Zenseg, I'm Team Zebra. Team Zebra is so when I first made memberships, the recommendation at that point was like, well, make 5 levels of membership. And so I made one crazy high level that I never expected anybody to join. It was $25 a month, and that's Team Zebra. That's the Zebra Pleco level. And Zen is one of the few people that is crazy enough to do that. Like I said, it was never expected. Never expected members so much anyways, but that was one of those that I watched a video and a guy was like, yeah, I'm going to put this level on here just because it's goofy and I need a 5th level. So I was like, I'll do that. Yeah, but that's what she's referencing. So we got people like Zen and Kenny from Aquatic Marine who supported that level. But I appreciate each and every one of you all. The people that are subscribed to the people that are members, it all makes a difference, and it's all very, very much appreciated.
I think I'm the cheap ass level.
Hey, that's why I did it. A lot of people are like, don't do it. Only start at a $5 level, and I get that. And I was like, no, I want to have a level because times are tough. So it's a little bit easier to take $2 a month than it is $5 a month. So that was why I did that, because I appreciate it. I really do. But anyways, that's enough on the memberships there. I didn't want to not address it because you asked, but I didn't want to get into a membership thing.
Sorry.
Chris
I thought it was
oh, you're good. You're good.
I thought zebras were another type of coral.
Gotcha.
I was trying to figure out like there was something. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's something else like that.
So Chris Trapp was asking, what temp do most salt tanks run?
Typical tropical temperatures, basically.
Yeah.
77 to 80?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny that, we had to work so hard to get the temps down to that before, because that's really extremely warm. So it's just thinking about how hard it was to get things down to that just lets you know how much heat those old style lights were emitting if you never used them or dealt with them.
I think we should read Mickey M's comment. There's a couple. Evan,
yeah, that's what I was looking for. Let me see if I can go find the first one.
Yeah, I got it right here.
You got it. Go for it, Mike. Go for it.
Yep. So basically, it's hi everyone. In the end of the '80s, my friend went to get his diver license in Cancun, Mexico. The last dive was at night, dropped by an anchor chain 18 meters down. Everyone's sitting at the bottom. And then to continue, the instructor lit up with his flashlight, and around them were 200 to 400 grandma Lorettos, which are above my head here.
Is that a fish?
Yeah, it's the Royal Grandma. If I move my head that way.
Oh, I thought you meant it's above your head. You have no idea what it is.
Oh, no, it's that pink and yellow fish.
That fish right there. Oh, I forgot you guys can't see my cursor.
A good trick.
That. Can I move my head and my finger?
No, that.
That fish right there. I'm out of practice for.
There's a really good trick when you go snorkeling. If you throw up in the ocean, a lot of fish will come up and start eating it. And you can see a lot of fish.
I mean, there is that. I don't typically recommend vomiting while scuba diving.
Well, my sister is just throwing up on the side of the boat while everybody else
there
was
you go.
looking.
Yeah.
She was too sick.
You've got regulators and things to worry about clogging
but
up,
But it was awesome because the fish are
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you again.
Nope, it's all right.
Please
you can interrupt my vomit.
No,
I'm sorry. No, so I have it's one of the things to keep in mind too with the saltwater fish is that a lot of them are still wild caught. So there's someone actually has to go dive out and get that fish. And I did get one thing we didn't talk about is I did get another fish actually. So there are fish in the tank now. So there's a clownfish and then there's a regal tang, which is the blue fish behind my head. So it's the dory basically. So I did get one of those, but the prices have skyrocketed on those fish due to the transportation costs. Like the tangs normally were about, $80, $100 or so. And I went to the fish store and it was, $300 for a fish. I was like, whoa, I was like, what happened?
Yeah, definitely a lot of sticker shock. And it's not something I think a lot of people anticipated. We've seen it in the freshwater side as well with, COVID. I don't think a lot of hobbyists really anticipated it in the hobby. We were seeing it in everyday life with, like wood prices and things of that nature, and PVC prices going up and all these other things. But I don't think people really understood or realized how interlinked our hobby is with transport and travel and, all of that stuff and the catching and what it was going to do to us with the shutdowns.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's I don't know that things will ever level out, but I certainly hope that at some point there will be some normality back in the mix.
I heard that lumber prices are supposed to go down.
That would be awesome.
I think I heard it from Bob.
Oh, well, Dan was talking about it on his stream on Get Gills this week. And he bought a bunch of lumber, and it was $1 less than it was a month ago.
Yes.
For 2x4.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that's going to have that rapid ascent and then a very slow decline. And it'll probably settle out somewhere more expensive than it was before, but
it definitely will.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be like 35 cents more. But they'll say, oh, but it dropped. Yep. That's how they get us every time.
Zen says lumber's down 25% there. Fantastic. That is awesome.
That is.
The Zen Ginger saying, speaking of stickers, do you have any available member stickers to make? I'm assuming she means the little emojis, the member emojis. You need a Nemo or something salty. I do not currently.
Ooh, that's a good point.
We are actually above threshold without getting into the membership thing again. This is not a membership drive. Understandably, we've lost a significant amount of members with the lack of content, which is my fault and my apologies. So we have more stickers than we're technically permitted for our membership level. So no, there is nothing available currently. But I've got a plan, right? I've got a plan. We're gonna do some awesome things. Ed and I are we're doing a talk at a fish club. We're gonna make that available just for the members. We're trying to work it out to where I'll also be able to ask questions live at the end of our talk to go into the Q&A with the in-person Q&A. So some fun stuff like that for the members to kind of get you all some value that has been lacking. And I apologize for that.
Well, and it's also the wrong time of year. Yeah. This show right now, we've got 45 watching. I bet you if it was Christmas time or winter time, we'd probably have double that number. I bet we'd be closer to 90.
Absolutely. But I appreciate all 45 people that are here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I really, really do. When I first started doing streams and I was really blessed. My first stream, I think I still had, about 20 people in there. Which is a lot more than most people for their first stream. I've always considered myself extremely blessed and humbled by the support that you all have shown. So thank you just for being here. I
remember having like 4 or something, right? Yeah, you sit there like, hi. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's how that's how I ended up with so many moderators. Actually, was I tried and had maybe 7 failed attempts at live streams because the computer, the software, and everything just was not working out. Like I'd get live, and then there would be no audio. And so when I finally had a functional live stream that everything worked, I had about 18 people or so that had been at each and every one of those attempts at me trying to go live. And I was like, we're just going to make you all moderators. I appreciate you. So that's why we have so many people that are moderators.
Hey, whatever works. I mean,
yeah. Ash McLeod saying, or Ash Light Cloud, excuse me, saying KG Tropicals got me here. Thanks, John and Lisa. Yeah, a huge thanks to John and Lisa. And thank you for being here, Ash. John and Lisa at KG have been awesome and amazing at showing support and sending people over, and I couldn't say enough thank yous to them. It was really, really great to get to thank him in person and buy them lunch while we were out there at Aquashella. And of course, John being an awesome guy, he turned around and bought us lunch, and I felt bad for that. But that's
it was awesome. Did you hear about that, Mike? We went to a pizza place, and it was outside of the restaurant or the resort, so it was like affordable food because everywhere else was like $1 billion. Right? Yeah, when we spent $50 on a stupid, bad buffet.
Yeah.
So we left there and we went in. So Sean and James and me, we were all going to get 16-inch giant pizzas and then take them back to the hotel room. And then John was paying for them all. And I got everything on it. It was like, I want everything.
It's like, I don't even like anchovies. I'll have them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hungry, man. Load it up.
Real quick, I do need to say a huge thank you to Metalheads. Again, that was not a plug or a pull or an ask, but Metalheads Aquatics, Metalheads Aquatic Mayhem, becoming a zebra level member. Thank you so much for that. You didn't have to do that. That is really very much appreciated. And like I said, I never even expected anyone to join in at that level. Matt F. also moving to zebra. You got seriously, you don't have to do it. It was just ask a question, and I was answering.
Number war.
You all are amazing.
You guys remember the old Dan's Fish streams where like Mile High Plecos and Bob Kaler would have the super chat wars?
I do. I do want to say for you all, there hasn't really been a whole lot of it done because it's just been Zen for the longest time. And bless her heart, she even had her husband, Mr. Zen, who is an awesome guy, as part of the Zebra team. So we never really did the things, but with having several Team Zebra members, there were some things specifically for you all I wanted to do, like some exclusivity, where I, do some one-on-one time with you all, I guess was the best way to put it. If you need help with something, you need to be one-on-one. I'll get with you all and get you that information because, Rico's a full 34 days away from a full year of membership. It's ridiculous that it's been that long. And this wasn't supposed to turn into a membership talk.
Let's stop talking about salt.
Can I bring up another subject too?
Yes,
absolutely.
Tennessee Fish Mafia. We were planning to have a get-together this next weekend in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, to go to the Deep South Guppy Show, because IFGA shows invite the public to come check out the guppies because they want people to learn about guppies. Unfortunately, this year, with the whole disease going on, they're only allowing members. So I'm the only one I know out of the Tennessee Fish Mafia that could get in. So we're going to cancel that. And we're all going to get together on the 7th, which is like in 2 weeks or 3. Well, it's the 7th.
Yeah.
From here next month. And we're going to get together here in Chattanooga for Chattanooga is having a fish swap in the afternoon. And then they've asked James and I to do a talk after the swap. And then we're going to find a restaurant somewhere near there, and we're all going to go and hang out and eat. I was going to say pizza. I don't know why pizza, but probably not pizza because the pizza in Chattanooga is not very good. But we'll eat somewhere and have a good time. Probably have fried chicken because that's really good here. But we'll all get together, have fun on the 7th. Okay, absolutely. Just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry,
it's going to be a blast. It really is. I was kind of, I won't talk about the IFGA thing, but it was kind of like, okay, all right, whatever. We finally had a thing planned, if you will, and then they're like, no, that's not going to happen.
You guys should just all join before and just go.
Oh, it's 9:00. Do you want to build a snowman?
Do they have a auction? Because those guppy auctions have some pretty good stuff in them.
Yeah, and you see, I think that's part of the reason why they don't want us there.
Yeah.
So, but they do. They have the auction. Actually, it's the following day, though.
Yeah, it's on Sunday. Usually Sunday they have the auction.
Yeah, and we were going to get together on Saturday. And our IFGA is a bunch of really old guys that don't like to talk to people. So, like,
most fish clubs are.
Yeah, it is. Well, St. Louis used to be that way too. It's just a lot of them have died, so it's gotten better. But the Guppy Show, though, they opened it up to the public, and it was in the newspaper. So people from Nashville were just coming in, and they were saying, "Are these saltwater?" And I was explaining to people what guppies were and stuff. And I wasn't even a member at that time. But it's just nobody was talking to the people, and I just love to talk, fish. So I figured what would be better than having a whole bunch of YouTubers from Tennessee, and if you're, if you want to come down from Kentucky or up from Alabama or Georgia, just anybody can come. We're not a club. We're just a group of people that like to have fun. And, we'd all talk to people, and then we're going to go to this awesome barbecue place across the street called the Pig Pit. And I thought that was going to be cool, just to eat there. But Ben Ochart was going to be there. I'm sure we probably would have had Sean Peck come out, and Ginger Graves, Tiffany White, and Bob Kaler, and James and I, and Bobby, or I got to start calling Bobby Robert because he prefers to be called Robert, but Tiana Aqua. So,
Yep.
And our new Melissa, she's just met her from Nashville. So we're just keep growing our Tennessee Fish Mafia out.
Absolutely. Can I address something quickly with the Tennessee Fish Mafia? And I'll preface it by saying it's not my thing. I didn't start it. I'm not running it or whatever. But we're not a fish club, the Tennessee Fish Mafia. It's not your typical fish club. I know there's some issues with a lot of people not realizing that. So we're not trying to be a fish club. We're not trying to set up bylaws and that type of stuff. We're a group of fish nerds. We're a
movement.
Yes, we're a movement. The Tennessee Fish Mafia was intended to be universally accepting and kind of, staying out in the middle of the sides choosing and the politics and the drama and all that. We're just a bunch of people that enjoy fish.
Yep.
So I just wanted to kind of clear that up because there's been some confusion on when we're going to have maybe club meetings and when we're going to set up bylaws, that type of stuff. And that's not the thing we're looking to do. That's not what we're about. Yeah.
I do want to try to make t-shirts just because I think they'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
You guys might end up with a club whether you liked it or not.
Right. Yeah. So again, thank you, Metalheads and Matt F. Appreciate you all with everybody else. Ash Like Cloud says, I live up in Maine. I have multiple tank syndrome bad. Well, hopefully we can turn that into fisherman fever, right?
Yeah.
I have to move a 30-gallon. I want to replace of a 10-gallon in the kitchen. I wish fishy guys were around some. There we go. Some things are hard to get your head around. Yeah. It's nice having a group of fishy friends, especially in person. It's great to have the online group, the Fish Fam, but then having the in-person people that are at least somewhat close. Ed's not that far away. Bob Kaler, Sean Peck, Rack from Palm Life. There's so many. You get out west more, Tiffany White and Ginger Graves, and it's just awesome having so many fish people. And it really does make a difference. But I'm glad that we have YouTube for the people that don't have the in-person or the nearby fish experience. Some people don't even have local fish stores, let alone fish groups. Yeah.
I don't think they have a fish store, like an independent fish store in Maine. Once I heard somebody saying that.
And I think Maine has really different rules when it comes to what fish you can have and not have as well.
It's a tough state to be a fish fan, so we respect you.
So Terry does make a good point. It depends on where you guys are going, obviously, but
no, absolutely. Terry's Tropical Texas clubs have rules for reasons you'll see later on as you grow. Well, that's the thing is we're not trying to grow that. That is simply just a welcoming group of, what side are you on? On Tennessee Fish Mafia, we don't pick sides.
Yeah.
That's
I came up with that. I'll be straightforward. Originally, the whole Fish Tennessee Mafia thing came from Doug Gray teasing Bob Kaler and me about being the fish mafia because we're always going to fish stores and buying fish. But then I was in a stream with a bigger name guy, and it wasn't one of the mega big guys, so don't start trying to figure out who it is. But he said, Ed, you got to pick which side you're on. And I'm like, that's crazy. I'm part of the Tennessee Fish Mafia. We don't take any side. And that's when it just stuck with me. And I said, you know what? Let's just go with this and have fun.
Absolutely. Stephen P. saying, do you have to be from or live in Tennessee? No, we've got lots of honorary members.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, Oh, I was going to pull the magnet behind me. Select Pet, who's driving and listening to us, he's a Honorware member. He's the one who came up with the logo for us.
Yeah.
And Diego, I'm sure, is a member also. Well, not a member, just part of the movement. Join the movement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a shirt that goes around Detroit. It's called Detroit versus Everybody. Because everyone, always has rags on Detroit for some good reason, some not, but, But so there's a shirt that goes around that says Detroit versus Everybody.
That's awesome.
There you go. So we actually have a saltwater question to wrap things up on. We have exceeded our hour. We had a little bit of fun, just kind of going off and talking about some other things. Q Aquatics is an honorary member of the Tennessee Fish Mafia.
Susan.
Yeah, Susan. I mean, it's just a group. It's being able to say you're part of a group, and we're not exclusive. We don't choose sides. We're just fish people that are trying to keep fish and have fun. And you can take your politics somewhere else. That's what it was.
But you better vote the way we want you to.
Atkins Nature Aquarium says simple saltwater is all I know. LOL. What's a skimmer for? Do you want to answer?
Good one.
It is a nutrient export device that basically proteins and stuff will stick to the water, to the bubbles made by the skimmer, and basically those will go to the top, flow out of the top of the skimmer into a collection cup, which you can then either clean or install a drain in, and drain it into and get rid of it basically. So it removes waste from your system. It's a filter basically.
Can I ask him a little bit more about this?
Yes.
Will there be much mulm in a saltwater tank?
Or
does that flow?
No, not really. I've never really.
Does
you want to have a lot of flow, which is something that we've not really talked about a lot.
Right.
Okay.
But you want to have a pretty decent amount of flow because the ocean has a lot of flow in it as well. Mm-hmm. And so you have the big the gyre pumps and stuff like there, the vortex and things like that. That you should not really have a lot of waste sitting at the bottom. So you should keep it moving and get it over into your sump and get it into your filtration system.
James, I may need to buy one of those little dealies.
The protein skimmer or the powerhead?
Powerhead.
Powerhead.
Yeah, I mean, I've got powerheads, but they'd be too powerful for that tank.
You'd be surprised what's too powerful and what's not too powerful, especially in saltwater. A fairly high amount of turnover is typically good for your saltwater tanks, saltwater setups, especially like Mike said, mentioned not having any dead zones and getting that stuff kicked up off the bottom and through your overflow or however you're getting the stuff out of the tank.
Okay.
But I think it's been a really fun time. Again, I appreciate you all. Of course, Ed and Mike for hanging out and doing this once a month.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of fun talking the saltwater side of things. I know this week was a little different than what we've done previously on saltwater episodes, and we will get back into the series, if you will, on next month's episode to be determined exactly what the topic will be. Maybe it'll be. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you guys doing the Aquashella?
It looks like we are. Yes. So
we should do it at Aquashella. I'm going. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hey, yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll do it after the show closes. What time does it close at night? Oh, but everybody might go to dinner.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it at a different time, too.
Yeah.
During the day.
We could do it during it.
Right. Yeah. Like, we could walk around and look at corals or something, too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
I think that'll be a blast. I look forward to getting that planned out. A huge thank you to everyone just for hanging out with us today, for showing the support and love of being here. Of course, the members, the new members, the members that upgraded their levels, you all are amazing. It's really, really appreciated. Never expected, but thank you so much for that. I look forward to seeing all of you all Thursday night for the next episode of Aquaholics Anonymous, where we jump back over to the freshwater side of things primarily. Until then, of course, go check out my buddy Chattanooga Ed if you haven't already, which I think most of you all in here have. Mike, Fish Tank Barn. Go check out Fish Tank Barn. Both of
Oh
these
wait,
guys are
that looks
awesome.
bad. I'm putting my thumbs down. This
Thumbs
guy,
down.
not this
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, all of these guys,
I was
go
going,
check out all the things. But
Oh,
seriously,
Michelle.
Wow.
any final thoughts or any final crazy things that you want to add, Ed, before we sign it off?
Nope. It's always a blast hanging out with you and Mike and all you folks out there. You guys make it fun.
Absolutely, Mike. Any
Thank
final
you for
thoughts
having
or
me.
anything?
No, thank you for having me. Make sure you're subscribed to these two gentlemen up here. Thank you for getting him all the memberships and everything too. That's awesome.
That is very much appreciated. And on the final note there, Michelle Kinsey throwing out the $1 super sticker. Thank you for that with the drooly face. I appreciate you, Michelle. We'll catch you all Thursday. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you on the next go round.